Welcome back and good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to bring you the fifth installment of the Industry Broadcast Remastered and Re-Recorded series. As you can probably guess, we've got another piece by Mr. Jamie Fristrom himself of Torpex Games and GameDevBlog.com, sharing more of his insight from the perspective of an ordinary man thrust into an extraordinary situation, mainly that of being a manager. So savor this one while you can, because we'll be moving on to IB's second signed author tomorrow, the one and only Daniel Cook. Sit back, grab a cup of something, and get ready for the action-packed, non-stop thrill ride of insight that is Industry Broadcast. Manager in a Strange Land. Milestones considered harmful? We didn't have milestones for Spider-Man 1. Well, we did. We had a schedule of month-by-month deliverables of lists of items that we were supposed to be delivering by when, but we rarely looked at that document during the project, and nobody from upper management ever said, "Why isn't item A, which was supposed to be done last month, not done?" And yet we still managed to ship on time. In Critical Chain, Eliahu M. Goldratt suggests that one of the things that makes projects go south is the padding put in between the milestones, because when you pad a deliverable and you finish that deliverable early, you don't move on to the next deliverable. Instead, you polish that deliverable beyond what is really needed. Gold plating is what it's called. Tom DeMarco says the same thing in Slack. DeMarco and Goldratt say that instead of having deadlines, we should have optimistic goals. We will always almost miss these optimistic goals, but we won't lose any time to gold plating. But what if something goes wrong, which happens over and over and over and over again on a game project? If you make optimistic goals, you'll probably miss them. That's why instead of putting the padding between the milestones, you put the padding at the end. Most game development contracts have this padding built in the phase most of us call alpha. We try to finish the game early so that we can get it into testing, so that we can fix the bugs. I hadn't actually read these books when we were working on Spider-Man, but I think they help to explain the phenomenon we saw, which is that you don't actually need milestones per se to ship a product. So, how big should the pad be at the end? I've frequently seen milestone schedules that factor in 1 month for alpha and 1 month for beta. The difference between alpha and beta was never really clear. I don't believe this is enough. This might be enough time to fix the bugs in a 12-month-long project, but not for anything longer. This padding isn't just to fix a few lingering bugs. This padding also gives you some slack so that you can miss your target and still ship on time. Also, the number of undiscovered bugs that were introduced during the life cycle of a project is proportional to the length of the project. With Spider-Man, an 18-month project, we tried to be content complete 4 months before the ship date, although we slipped. The last in-game cutscene limped in with only a month left. Still, the bulk of gameplay content was finished within a month of that target date, so an early alpha served its purpose, giving us room to slip. We even had enough for a comfort zone in those last few months that we could add a few small features. Now, what if we had a cast-in-stone milestone schedule? When that first set of levels was supposed to come online, we would have missed our planned date by a great deal. In addition, we probably would have decided to cut the amount of game content in half or more to get back on schedule. So we would have created a smaller game, and it was pretty small to begin with. Some reviewers said it was too short. Also, we would have lost flexibility in our development. The opportunity to find better, faster ways to do things can be lost if you don't have some slack time. There are downsides to the goals, not promises method of milestones. First, it hurts morale when you keep on missing your goals, so you need other methods to keep the morale up. These morale-boosting exercises include telling everybody how awesome they are all the time, and love-ins, where you show the game to the team and show the progress that they've made lately. The other downside is that you almost never punt. When you're approaching a cast-in-stone milestone and you're about to slip, you can alter the deliverable to achieve the milestone goal. For example, your publisher says that you have to deliver 2 levels, but you only have 1, so you cut that level into 2 parts and hand it over. That's an example of bad punting. But sometimes punting can be good. You reduce the scope and deliver something to spec, even though it's not what you originally wanted to deliver. Finally, goals not promises milestones encourage a phenomenon I call the dead zone, which I'll get into in the next article. Still, let's say that you're on board and you want to go do goals not promises in your milestones, but your publisher doesn't. So if you don't hit your milestones to the letter, you're not getting paid. What do? Greg John, producer on Spider-Man 1, has this message taped to the wall of his office. Minus promit nevis prefice. That means under-promise, over-produce. If your publisher is going to punish you for missing milestones, you have to pad the crap out of them. But then you'll probably fall into the gold-plating trap. You'll work on the first milestone deliverable until it's a highly polished gem, and when something goes wrong on the next milestone, you won't have any slack. To make that padded milestone schedule work, you have to have internal goals that keep you well ahead of the external milestone schedule. Greg John and I did this when we worked on Tony Hawk ports. Early in the project, we were weeks ahead of our milestones. As the end of the project drew near, that gap narrowed. These were 6-month projects, so for a longer project, you have to have a huge gap. I'd say try to be 2 or 3 months ahead in front of the first milestone. It would look a little bit something like this. For your design document, let's say you have a 1-month internal schedule, but a 3-month external schedule. Your proof of concept would be 3 months internally, but 6 months externally. For a shippable level, 5 months internally, 8 months externally. Complete playthrough with most levels stubbed out, 7 months internally, 9 months externally. 1/3 of levels in an E3 demo, 9 months internally, 11 months externally. Code complete, 2/3 of the levels in, 11 months internal, 13 months external. Content complete, all levels in, 13 months internal, 14 months external. Game balanced, 15 months internal, 16 months external, and finally shipping, 17 months internal, 18 months external. If you don't hit the internal schedule, it's not the end of the world, but it does mean that you have to cut features and struggle to catch up, because you have to try to get that padding back in case something goes very wrong, because it will. If you haven't felt what it's like to have the burn disk in your hand for a milestone that's not due for weeks, I highly recommend it. As a side note, if you do actually manage to hit your content complete goal, this gives you an option a game developer usually doesn't get. You can add wishlist items and polish. Gold plate all you want at the end. Enjoy. One last thing. By the time you're reading this, you've probably already given an optimistic milestone schedule to your publisher. You may be tempted to put padding in by shrinking the internal schedule. You can't. Your best resource would be to cut features and renegotiate the milestone schedule. And that wraps it up for remastered and re-recorded audio article number 5. As with the past 5 articles, this one was brought to you by Jamie Fristrom, whose blog can be found at gamedevblog.com. As always, my name is Ryan Wienko, signing off from IndustryBroadcast.com, where we endeavor to bring the collective insight of the gaming industry to your ears.